Our next look at Exodus chapter 28 focuses on another part of the high priest garments. Today we're looking at the linen girdle, and we'll see this here in the picture. The girdle is the bit that was underneath the linen coat, was bound underneath, and was a means of strengthening, holding everything together. And of course, in the Bible, this is called sometimes the sash. In fact, we read this in Exodus chapter 28 and verse 39. You shall weave the tunic of checkered work of fine linen. We looked at that in the previous video. And you shall make a turban of fine linen. You shall make a sash, the work of a weaver. And that word sash is the same word we have for girdle in the picture. And so the girdle was used. If we go back to the picture, the girdle was used to fasten the ephod around the waist, holding it close to the priest's body, and this girdle represents readiness to serve. This linen girdle, which was bound under the linen coat, was a means of strengthening the middle part or the loins of the high priest, symbolic of service. And of course, we said that what the garments are physically. Of course, we know that these things represent the person of Christ in his work and character. And this represents the perfect servanthood of Christ. Remember, he himself said, I came not to be served, but to serve and to give his life a ransom for many. And of course, the ultimate act of this was in John chapter 13. You remember where it talked about the time where Jesus he laid aside his garments and took the lowest place to wash the disciples' feet. I read this in John chapter 13. There at the bottom of the page, now before the feast of Passover, Jesus, knowing that the hour had come that he would depart out of this world to the Father, having loved his own who are in the world, he loved them to the end or to the uttermost. During supper, the devil, having already put into the heart of Judas Iscariot, the son of Simon, to betray him, Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands and that he had come forth from God and was going back to God. And here's the movements. He got up from supper. Movement 1, laid aside his garments. 2, took a towel, and taking a towel. 3, he girded himself. So here we see the connection between Exodus 28 and John chapter 13. He poured water into a basin. He began to wash the disciples' feet, and then he wiped them with the towel which he was girded. Of course, this then triggers a question from Simon Peter and an answer from the Savior. And of course, we get down to verse 12. When he had washed their feet and taken his garments, and reclined at the table again, and said, Do you know what I have done? You call me teacher and Lord. You are right, so I am. If I then, your Lord and Master, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. And then verse 15, I gave you an example. You should also do as I did to you. Remember, Isaiah chapter 42, verse 1, God speaking says, Behold, my servant. His service was before God, and it was with God's strength and power. Philippians chapter 2, verse 7 says, He took upon him the form of a servant. Of course, this Philippians 2, those movements can be traced for the same movements here in John chapter 13. And then, of course, he spoke about greatness. I am among you as he that serves. Still, today, we have the challenge, don't we, of what is true greatness? Is greatness having others serve you, or is greatness service? And of course, the Savior answers, I am among you as he that serves. And so this linen girdle or sash, which was around the waist, held close to the priest's body, representing the readiness for service. But of course, we end then with the challenge for us, verse 15. I gave you an example that you should also do as I did to you. Of course, to serve the disciples, the Lord had to take the lowest place. And often that's why we're lowest, because it takes humility and it takes courage to take the lowest place and readily serve others. But that is the example of Christ and what is pictured in the linen girdle of the high priest. Thank you for listening.